The Rainmaker Multiplier On-Demand series is brought to you by Clarity to Prosperity, a financial training, coaching, and IP development organization led by financial advisors, coaches, and business leaders committed to taking a holistic approach to advising. To learn more about our organization and upcoming training opportunities for financial professionals, visit claritytoprosperity.com.
Welcome to the Rainmaker Multiplier On-Demand webinar. This series is accompanied by a podcast as well as a white paper. The series covers relevant topics about how you can multiply yourself as the Rainmaker in your financial services practice. You'll learn how you can take advantage of efficiencies, how to bring on associate advisors, develop new profitable revenue streams, and utilize thought leadership within the financial services industry, all to help grow your business. We're also going to be talking about marketing campaigns so that you can multiply your leads. Today's topic is 9 marketing tips that advisors need to know. And what I'm so excited about is that these are all very relevant tips that advisors can use right now today. So I'm your host, Mary Stirk. I'm the Senior Vice President of Coaching for C2P, Clarity to Prosperity. And I also am the founder and CEO of Stirk Financial Services, which is a large financial planning firm in the Midwest. I'd like to introduce our speakers today. We have 2 fabulous speakers about this marketing topic. The first is Shannon Hendricks. Shannon is the Chief Marketing Officer of Clarity to Prosperity. Shannon recently joined C2P with 28 years of experience in the financial services industry. Over the past 15 years, Shannon has served in marketing roles in large banks, community banking, institutional asset management, and mortgage environments, and she's been responsible for creating and implementing business-to-business and business-to-consumer strategies. She's done a lot with product launches, brand launches, lead generation campaigns, and platform implementations and rollouts. Now, our second guest is Matt Seitz, and Matt is the Managing Director of Sales and Marketing at Clarity to Prosperity. He has 15 years of experience in marketing and sales and has been primarily in the business-to-business environment. Matt's focus is on strategic planning, digital marketing, lead generation, and content marketing. And Matt has been a frequent speaker and has been an author of quite a few different things. So I'm very excited to welcome both of you to our webinar today. Welcome, Shannon and Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
I can't think of 2 more experienced people in the industry and in marketing to lead us through the 9 marketing tips that advisors need to know today.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead and just jump right in. Shannon, go ahead and lead us off.
All right. Well, thank you, Mary. Preparing for retirement or understanding tax and estate planning can be overwhelming for consumers. As an advisor, your services can help Americans better understand financially what they need to do and how you can help them. So, how do you get in front of households that you're marketing to? Our Rainmaker Multiplier On-Demand Episode 3 white paper, a companion to this webcast, will review steps for your marketing plan. But today in the webcast or webinar, we're going to share 9 quick tips that you can use to better position your firm for success.
Great. Let's go ahead and dive in.
All right, thanks, Shannon. Step number 1 here was seminars and workshops. I'm sure that many of you are already using seminars and workshops as part of your lead generation efforts. Some have seen them as very effective, and others are probably looking forward to the tips and tricks we're going to be sharing today. So what we want to do is share how you can improve the effectiveness of these seminars and workshops, both in driving attendance, but also in the conversions after the workshops. Now, step 1, marketing your event. You can choose to market the event on your own or use an outside party like a white glove, especially if you're recognizing you may not have the capabilities of the manpower in-house to run these effectively. Outsourcing these might be a great option for filling the event. In terms of the event,
as a financial advisor, Matt, and we run seminars, I can say that there is a tremendous amount of time and effort that gets spent by the advisor and their team to be able to put things together. and get ready for a seminar. And one of the beautiful things about a group like White Glove is it's kind of plug and play. They do all of that for you.
Exactly, yes. It definitely helps make it more scalable on the advisor side. So for the event promotion itself, there are many different campaigns that you can be running. The first two bullets here, the email marketing and the direct mail, are probably the most two commonly that we see used with advisors because of the way that you're able to access and put those lists together and repurpose things you've already done. The other thing gaining a lot of traction is digital ads. And by that we mean the Google ads, things that you can be running on Google or other search engine platforms, but also social media marketing, things like Facebook and LinkedIn and avenues like that, which we are going to get into in more detail later, but we definitely wanted to include those in the mix here. And ideally you're using some combination of these or other efforts to have a more omnichannel approach. You want to make sure you're hitting prospects at the right time in the right place, and be it that digitally or something like direct mail or a phone call, you want to make sure that you're hitting them when it's convenient for them. The key there, though, is the tracking. By tracking your success with each of these event promotion tactics, you're able to tweak those for future events moving forward, so that if you aren't seeing results from something like direct mail, maybe you do shift more focus towards those other areas. Or if you're seeing a lot of success with your digital ads, maybe you want to ramp up your ad spend there moving forward. So as long as you're tracking, you're able to optimize these moving forward. And the last point there, the target lists, what we see is a lot of advisors obviously have their own in-house lists, whether they have that in Excel or in a CRM system, but they've built that up over time. You want to use that. Another option is purchasing a list through a source like an InfoUSA or a C-Track Direct. Those can help supplement the existing list and make sure you're reaching a more broad audience in your target area. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the event itself and how you can improve your conversion rates. Our first bullet here, we actually went into quite a bit of detail on at our recent Mastermind Collegium, but it's using preset appointment cards, and we have an example here on the slide. And the example we've given is one of our model offices. The J.L. Smith Group uses these, and they set these out for the prospects when they're attending the event that actually say, thank you for joining us today. You have a preset appointment with an advisor on X date at X time. Please call if you would like to reschedule or cancel. And what they found is that at events when they use these preset appointment cards, their conversion rates from attendees to clients jump from 50% to 80%.
I think that's huge.
Yeah, it really is, Mary, because they took the guesswork out of it, and not only that, it's all of the time going back and forth trying to schedule with someone. You know, they put it right out there and just put it on them. If you need to reschedule, call us. So, you know, if there's one big takeaway you get from that, hopefully that if you are holding these workshops and seminars, you certainly take advantage of an idea like this. The next step there, have your team there to network before and after the event. That might seem common sense, but a lot of them you get busy, but making sure they're there. And one thing that I like to stress with the teams that we work with are make sure the team that's there is focused on developing rapport. Most of the time when you're having an event like this, you're meeting people for the first time, and you want to develop that rapport before you try and sell them right away. One of my favorite quotes that is certainly applicable to this is, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So take advantage of this opportunity when you're meeting them for the first time to develop a relationship with them, get to know them, so that when you want to move forward with the sale or with working with them in their financial planning, you've built that inherent trust early on.
You know, one of the things that my team does that points to that exact issue is that we do reach out and contact people beforehand to confirm that they're going to come. And we have always kind of broken up the list of attendees between our different advisors or presenters that are going to be there. And even just that initial call coming from someone, then we try to make sure that that person is who they humanly and face-to-face talk to when they get to the seminar, because there's actually then 2 points of contact with the same person. And even though that doesn't seem like it's a big deal, it actually makes a huge difference in the relationship building side of things.
No, that is great that your team does it. And actually, that's a great segue to our last bullet here, because I'm sure what that also does is it helps with attendance rates. If you have started to nurture that relationship before they even show up, I bet you get a lot more attendance there,
Hmm.
because most of you that are watching now probably realize that all of your 100% registration doesn't mean that 100% are going to show up. You're going to have that natural attrition. Um, I usually tell people to expect at least a 70% attendance rate, so 30% attrition. But we've seen some attendance rates in the industry as low as 25 to 30%. But the important thing to note is make sure you're still following up with everyone. You don't know what happened or why they weren't able to come at the last minute. Just because they didn't show does not necessarily mean they're not interested. Maybe they would like to reschedule for a future event, or maybe they had something pop up. They would still love to keep their one-on-one with an advisor. They just weren't able to make it to that specific event. So just because they doesn't show doesn't mean you shouldn't be following up to try and nurture that relationship.
That totally makes sense. So I think one of the great things about this webinar is understanding that a lot of advisors, their only marketing that they're doing is through seminars. And we have 8 more tips for people that can multiply your results with more marketing. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one.
Thank you, Mary. All right, so Matt and Mary discussed best practices for events, and we also talked a little bit about target lists for prospecting and how you're reaching out to prospective clients to let them know that you have an upcoming event. It's important to make sure that all of your business information online is up to date. Why? Because the minute somebody has an invitation to your event or receives any marketing material or advertising on behalf of your firm, they're going to look you up online. Google My Business offers a free business profile and allows you to connect with your customers instantly with relevant information about your business, your location. You'll want to put your profile on there, which is free. You'll want to make sure that you have your hours of operation, your locations. You can feature more than one location. So if you have different locations on different sides of your community or city, you can feature more than one. You will want to upload relevant photos. You can see in the Clarity to Prosperity, we actually have a photo of one of our training events. So you could feature your office, your team, yourself, photos of your business on the outside. So if they come and visit it, that they'll know what it looks like. Google's going to feature a map in there so they can see exactly where you're located. You'll want to make sure that your profile links properly to your website. And if you have any events that are upcoming and listed that Google is pulling, that they're actually, accurate. So you can go into the back end of the profile and update that. And it should be something that you pull up somewhat frequently and make sure that you're not only looking at it, but you're managing it actively.
I think that's a great tip, because if you don't go in and do that yourself, you're not going to be sure exactly what's showing up. And I know, like what you said, the first exposure that I have to somebody or some business, I definitely am going out to Google and checking them out that way. So it's a really great first impression to have this buttoned up.
Yeah, there are other first impressions too, and Matt's going to bring up your LinkedIn listing.
Yeah, and actually this ties very well into the last point with Google, because the way that they run their search algorithms these days, they put such an emphasis on social networks, because social media is such a prevalent part of society these days, that they are giving more weight to social profiles, in particular LinkedIn. So you want to make sure that you have optimized your profile, even if you're not doing a lot of networking per se on LinkedIn. If you optimize your profile correctly to a quote-unquote all-star status on LinkedIn, you can improve your chances of not only being found on LinkedIn, but on networks like Google and Yahoo when people are searching for expertise.
So tell us a little bit more about what this all-star profile on LinkedIn means.
Yeah. And right now we're going to walk through quickly how to set up an all-star profile, but certainly if you'd like more detail on this, you could Google it, or you can reach out to one of us after the presentation. We'd be happy to walk through it in a little more detail. But for this particular example, we're going to use the profile of this goofy looking guy up here. But to make sure that you have an AllStar profile, and we're going to go through the specifics of these, but the first thing is, which might seem common sense, is making sure you have a profile photo with a professional background. And having a professional photo in there actually results in 21 times more views and 63 times more messages than people that don't have a photo in there. And really it does make sense, because whether someone's searching for you on LinkedIn or another network, if they haven't met you yet, but they can put a face with a name already and start to make that human connection, they're going to be much more likely to click on that versus an advisor's profile that doesn't have a picture in there. The next, right underneath that, you're going to want to make sure you have your title, company, and a headline of up to 120 characters. So you can see my name and title up there, and underneath have a brief headline of kind of the areas of focus that I have. Now below that, in the About section, LinkedIn calls that the summary, and you're going to want to put that together. The tip that I'll point out here is to try and use keywords and buzzwords related to the industry and how specifically you can help the individual that's seeking your assistance. So if someone is finding your profile for the first time and they haven't met you yet, try and describe there how you can help them. But while you're using keywords, make sure not to use lingo that they're not going to understand. You want to make sure that they can read it. You want to simplify it so they understand it. And when they reach out to you, they know that you're going to be able to help them.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so next on the right there, you're going to see the experience section. This is where you list out any of your current and former positions. They leave space to add a description for some of these. It is optional, so you can give as much or as little detail as you like. And then beyond that, the next section is the skills section. So we can click one more time through there. It's going to show a little snapshot of my skills section, and these can be knowledge that you have, industry background, it can be software. To have a quote-unquote all-star profile, you need to have at least 5 skills listed, but I would recommend having as many as you need to communicate your expertise. So when you list through these, LinkedIn limits it at 50, and very rarely do I see people actually have 50 there. What LinkedIn does do to help you establish this section is it's got a kind of a smart feature that as you start to type in words, it's going to give recommendations that include that word and then other related industry words. So if you type in tax, it's going to list different types of tax management, tax training, tax planning. So you can select any or all of those to make it easy for you to build up this skills section.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, the next section we don't have on here, but it does get in a little more detail, is the education and accomplishments. Those work very similar to the experience section, where you would list out any education background, post-secondary stuff, and then the accomplishments or awards that you've received in the industry. Then LinkedIn does also have several other sections that you can complete that are not mandatory. They're not related to the AllStar profile. But I usually recommend to individuals to include as much as you can, because even beyond the AllStar profile, the more information you have in there, especially for a prospect or even a client that you have, that they can find out more about you, it helps establish that rapport. You know, that I've had it happen personally where I have information on mine about volunteer work, and then I go to meet with a client and they say, oh my gosh, I volunteer with the same organization, and it creates that connection. So even though those aren't mandatory for an AllStar profile, I would explore using those within your own profile. And the last step there is just making connections. So you have to build that up. LinkedIn wants you to have at least 50 connections to reach the AllStar status. An easy way to do that, which we always recommend anyway, is make sure you're connected with your coworkers, your clients, and your prospects. Because you can't talk to everyone every day, and what's great about LinkedIn is it will send you alerts so you can see for anyone you're connected to that they've got a birthday if it's in there, an anniversary, they've changed jobs. That can be a great way to know what's going on with them, even if you're not communicating them on a daily basis. So do what you can to build up those connections, but certainly make sure that on the client prospect side, you're connecting with all of them there.
Great tips. Thanks, Matt. I think that will help make all advisors up-level their LinkedIn presence, and that's going to then definitely increase their connectivity with the people that matter to them.
Right.
Okay, let's go ahead and talk about your website.
All right. Well, for tip number 4, we're going to talk about how people are finding you online, similar to our previous tips, but also to give consideration to the fact that consumers research businesses, products, and services before purchasing now more than ever. So you want to make sure that you are readily available with the information that they need to decide whether or not they're going to work with your firm. While it's very tempting to talk about yourself and your services a ton on your websites, I also really recommend that you balance that against the needs of your potential clients and the readers of the website. You do want to talk about your experience in the products and the services that you offer. However, you want to be cognizant of the reader's needs and easily connect for them the services and the products that you're offering into what their needs are. So when you're looking at your website, you're going to think about, well, first of all, knowing your website and actively working on it. So is it user-friendly? Can prospects find what they need? Is it connecting with the readers in a meaningful way? And is it up to date? One of the biggest mistakes that businesses make is, they put a lot of time and energy into a website, it's done, and then they move on to other marketing initiatives. And really, your website should always be evolving, whether you're adding new video, which we'll talk about momentarily, or you're adding, new event dates or new products and new services, or various components that, as your business is evolving, you're evolving your site. You'll want to do a couple of things. One, you'll want to set up Google Analytics and review your reporting. Or if you're not doing it yourself, you can have someone on your staff do it, or you could have a third party that is assisting you with your marketing do it.
So Shannon, how often do you recommend that somebody review the reporting on that?
I would say at a minimum quarterly. You could certainly look at it monthly. It's going to tell you how many people are visiting your website. You could set it up to view the pages that they're visiting, to see the relevance, how long they're spending on the website. Through tracking, you can see if people are visiting your website and taking action, maybe filling out a lead form or requesting one of your offerings. Many people offer a book or something of that nature. The other thing really is that, for an evolving business, you can retarget off of your website once you see how many people are visiting. So if they've visited your website and they have not taken action and connected into your business, you may want to follow them around the internet with retargeting ads. So, that's a very fundamental thing, I would say, for any business that has a website, is to retarget people that have not taken action.
Sure, that makes sense.
You'll also want to make sure that your website is search engine optimized. And really at a high level, that means when somebody is organically searching for the services and the products that you offer, you're coming up in top rankings. Search engine optimization will help you rise to the top of the search results for people that are looking for your services. And for example, local search has become more and more important. 82% of smartphone shoppers conduct near me searches, which has increased the importance of the local SEO. So people are looking for possibly financial planning assistance, estate planning, tax management planning for their household, and they may very likely search someone that's near me. So the local SEO is very important. The next one is optimize UX. So UX is a very popular term used now and has been for a little while, and basically it means user experience. So the entire premise is that your website is set up so that the user has the most efficient and relevant experience that they could possibly have visiting your website. It's designed to basically display your branding, your usability, your function, the information about your products and services in a very easy to navigate and clear-cut manner. And a lot of times when you're researching user experience, a common theme is less is more. So not over inundating the reader with so much information that it is work for them to process what's on your website, instead of making it easy for them to understand what your offerings are.
Yeah, I know that in today's digital world, I get very frustrated if I have to work very hard to try to find information on a website. Like if it's more than 3 clicks, I'm like, yeah, this is too difficult. And I think that that's kind of the general attitude that people have. So optimizing that UX, making sure that it is easy to find exactly what somebody wants and what they're focused on is 100% on target for how we want websites to really be functioning for us.
Right. Yeah, that's great info, Shannon. Actually, like one little bonus tip we have there at the bottom to help with this whole optimization of your website is that you can actually run free website audits to give you a good benchmark of where you're at now and how you can improve. Google has a plugin called Lighthouse. Again, that's called Lighthouse for those that want to Google that. It's free to put on your computer. It's just one easy click and it will run that on your site. There's also services like SEMrush and an SEO optimizer that I think are paid solutions, but they do offer free trials. But certainly if you're working with an outside vendor or a marketing agency, they should have their own software where they can run this for you to give you a good snapshot of where you're at now, and you can kind of plan out how to optimize that moving forward.
I love that tip. Thanks, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to Facebook. Facebook is something that most people are pretty familiar with. So
Yes.
what's on Facebook today?
Yes, and this just in, Facebook is not just for cat videos and trending memes, even though everybody loves a good meme, but it's actually a very powerful tool for businesses these days if used correctly, especially for financial advisors because of the targeting capabilities we're gonna cover today. Some interesting statistics we found that are relevant to this: 68% of Americans are currently on Facebook, and 43% of U.S. adults get their news from Facebook, which makes it the #1 social platform for consuming news and information. So being able to share your content and thought leadership there. And 98% of B2C companies currently use Facebook either for engagement or lead generation. So if you're not currently doing it, you certainly, if nothing else, don't want to be left behind. So that's why we're going to cover a few more details that you can be using today to make sure that you're at the forefront there. The first thing that you should be doing is business pages. These can be easily set up and make it easy for users to find you. This is also going to be a great spot, as we mentioned, to share your thought leadership and your content. On that content side, we are going to discuss in more detail later in another tip. But the important thing to note when you are sharing content and maintaining that business page is to make sure you're doing it regularly, because you don't want to turn off users if they come to your page and they see that your last post is 2 years ago. Sure. It doesn't give that great impression. So if you are going to have a page, you want to make sure, whether it's someone on your staff or it's outsourced, that you are maintaining that regularly. I know there's also some industry sites that do kind of auto feeds to your Facebook where you can set those up. Just want to make sure that you're not leaving the page stale.
So one of the things that our team does is we've created kind of a monthly calendar. We want to post so many days a week, and we want certain posts to happen frequently that are kind of marketing events or marketing our podcast or things like that. But one of the interesting things about Facebook is that the posts that seem to do the best for us are ones that are kind of like local human interest. So let's say there's a deer outside the window and we snap a picture of that and put that on Facebook. That gets the most traction on our page versus things like, here's the best financial tips for this year.
Right. And you know what? That is a great point. And I think we touch on this in a couple areas of the points, but the reason things like that are such high engagement is it personifies your business. Mm-hmm. They know the kind of fun and the personality that your business and your people have, because they can go to a lot of different financial advisors, but it kind of gives them a sense of who they're working with if they see kind of the personality that kind of comes through in a platform like Facebook.
There's also, an easy rule of thumb for everyone watching is that, if you have 10 posts, only 2 should be actually selling. So out of 10, only 2 should be directed, into a sales initiative.
I like understanding that ratio, because I think sometimes it's easy to get overzealous about using it as a sales tool rather than it truly is a social tool.
Right. Great. Well, the next tip related to this, which Mary, you made reference to that your team does, is using it for events. So you can actually, for free, set up events on Facebook, which makes it easy for your team, for partners, and certainly for attendees to select that they are interested or attending that event. And so it's a great way, a great free way, important thing to note, of spreading the word about your events. The one thing I do want to make note of for all of you listening is that with that, you want to make sure if your event does have a cost, or it's important to know who's attending for name tag's sake, or obviously if there's a cost that needs to be processed, you want to make sure you have that registration link in there, because otherwise the event that you set up is the simple interested or attending toggle on Facebook. So you do want to include a link back to your site if you have other things that you need to track for that particular event. Then the final area we want to cover, which is a big reason why Facebook is becoming so popular with advisors, are the advertising capabilities. There's really 2 main ways to use this. One is boosted posts. So you can take the content that you already have, could be an event, could be a nice piece of thought leadership or a white paper, and you can boost that so you're reaching an extended audience beyond the individuals that are already following your page. The other one, which from a targeting standpoint works the same, is just a general ad where you can put up new content or new promotion that's really a call to action for registering for an event, downloading a white paper, something like that, that you can put up there on Facebook and get very granular with who you're targeting with those. So both of those work the same, the boosted posts and the ads, from a targeting standpoint. And that's why it's so important for advisors to make note that there's a lot of different options. You think of when you set up a Facebook profile, all the different information that you're putting in there, and like it or not, people have different opinions, but all the different actions that you take on Facebook, it sees that, and those are all great capabilities from a marketing standpoint to target those individuals. So you can hit people based on geography, education, relationship status, financial income, lifestyle categories, and even behavioral data, like I said, of the groups that they're in or the things that they're liking on there. So there's a lot of powerful data that you can use to make sure that you're reaching a very targeted audience for your particular product or service. And certainly one thing I think Shannon mentioned earlier is the retargeting capability. So you can actually serve ads to people that have visited your Facebook page, but if you know enough about how these ads work, you can actually retarget people that have been to your own website. So when they've been to your site and they move on and now they're checking out pictures on Facebook, you can actually be serving them ads to come back to your site and make sure that they are downloading a white paper or signing up for your next event. So
yeah, I see that happen all the time when I'm Googling something, and then the next day when I'm on Facebook, all of a sudden there's a sponsored ad for that very thing I was Googling.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot. And you know where I use this example a lot, where people see it the most, I think, is those people that use Amazon, because Amazon is great about reminding you of things that you left in your cart that you need to come back and complete your purchase. So
I wish I could say I frequently leave things in my cart and don't purchase them. That would not be true.
See, in our house, I'm convinced that my wife puts things in the cart so that she knows that I'll get retargeted to go back and buy them for her.
Now that's a good strategy. She's awesome. Okay, so we're a little more than halfway through our 9 tips. That was tip number 5. Shannon, take us through tip number 6.
Tip number 6 is speed to the lead. So, whether it's throughout my career, I've worked in a lot of different environments. Some have been direct-to-consumer call center environments. Some have been environments where there are brick-and-mortar storefronts, and how leads come in is, a top priority. response time to incoming leads can make or break your campaigns. When you're considering how you're reaching out to your leads that come in, every minute counts, especially if it is through the digital channel. I did a little bit of research, and the Harvard Business Review reported that firms that tried to contact potential customers within an hour of receiving a query were 7 times as likely to qualify the lead as those that contacted after 1 hour. More
Wow.
than 60 times likely as someone that waited 24 hours or longer to contact a lead. Similarly, I've worked with a lot of different CRM systems. They specialize in all sorts of best practices. Velocify is one of them. Velocify states the simple act of placing a phone call to a prospect within a minute of an inquiry can increase your likelihood of conversion by 400%. So
that is astonishing.
It is.
Wow.
Yes. So, there's a couple of things here. One is responding to leads in real time makes a difference for your business. And, sometimes I know people get busy. There's a lot going on in an office. If you're pulling leads once a day, if you're pulling leads every couple of days, or even on a weekly basis, you really are probably not optimizing your campaigns and your opportunity as much as you could. So to the best of, your ability to reach out to those leads within an hour, but, and sometimes within seconds, if they come in through the digital channel, that is your best opportunity for success in converting that lead. Also, in just better serving, your prospective customers, because you're reaching out to them at a time where they want your product or service, or they want to talk to you about how you can help them. So there's a couple of things. One, many businesses use CRM systems to have lead management, to have notifications that leads are coming in. Many times you can set up email notifications of leads coming in through various campaigns. If you're not using a CRM system, I recently saw a statistic that 40% of salespeople still use Excel to track leads. If you're using Excel spreadsheets to track leads, you can do that. Just keep your spreadsheets up to date, and there may be a time where a CRM option is very good for your business. But in the meantime, if you're using a CRM, there are autoresponders. Now you can respond immediately with an email. You can respond sometimes with text messaging. You can respond, with a phone call. There's different ways to reach out to a potential client, but you're going through a lot of work to market your business, for people to understand who you are and what you offer. So take the best advantage to reach out to people immediately when they're interested.
And I think people are kind of conditioned to expect this now. Like if you do inquire about something online, people are kind of conditioned to immediately get messaging, emails, contact, and things like that. So I think that there used to be a little bit of a feeling before of, gosh, I don't want to overwhelm someone or be too in their face. And now I think it's just the norm of, if I'm going to inquire about something, I better expect that people are going to be like responsive. And if they're not, it throws up a red flag to me as a consumer. Like, why aren't they?
Right.
Yeah, and especially when somebody is actively looking for a product or a service, they're interested right then. If you reach out to them the next day, they could be, doing something else. So you want to reach out to them when they're interested. This leads Mary into tip number 7, which, is closely aligned to the lead generation concept, right? Which is referrals and word of mouth. So over the years, I've worked with many, many financial professionals that have built their business on their referral business. Some of whom have been very well known in their communities, some of whom have been long established in their business and, have given a very high level of service and a lot of value to their clients. So referrals and word of mouth is key to growing your business. And really, it's all about relationship building. You can have, a business-to-business network. So you could have an increase in your referral sources, such as working with attorneys. In fact, our Rainmaker Multiplier on Demand episode 1 focused on the Attorney Advisor Alliance. So there are referral sources and partnerships that you can engage in, developing relationships with. Also, though, your own clients will serve as a referral source. A recent article in the Wall Street Journal that I read, it was all about how to choose a financial planner. And the author wrote right away, ask people you know if they can recommend a planner. So those are all things to keep in mind. You know, you clearly want to deliver a quality customer experience. So you want to deliver relevant information and high value, but a good experience when they're working with your office.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the things that financial advisors, a lot of them struggle with the most, is having the confidence to ask for the referral. But I find that once you feel confident that you have, in fact, added value for your client, it's much easier to ask for the referral, because why wouldn't they want to refer someone who's added value for them?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, one thing that we say is don't be embarrassed or shy to ask a client for a referral. You know, after you've walked them through the bucket plan process, it's very easy to say, do you know anyone else who would benefit from going through this planning process? It's an easy, I mean, the worst that happens is they say no, but if you've done your job effectively and they're happy with the result, I'm sure they're going to be happy to give you the names of other individuals.
Right. And one of the best lines that I've ever heard when it comes to referrals is just simply reminding people very softly, well, we are a referral-based firm. And even if you say that several times throughout the planning process, we are a referral-based firm, you're planting that seed every time with that client that referrals is just a normal part of the deal. And
Right.
So you are going to build up to asking them specifically for a referral, but you've kind of laid the groundwork by just simply using that line that we're a referral-based firm. So that's another way that in a softer way, people can kind of begin that conversation.
Yeah, exactly. And I know I've worked with a lot of advisors too that just build that into the, you know, that final piece of communication, whether it's an email or something that they're getting in their final folder that just, you know, asks there, do you have someone that you can submit to us as a referral, or someone that you could even give this to reach out to us, you know, if they don't feel comfortable making that connection email. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways to make it work. But again, if you've done your job as an advisor, usually they're not going to mind with that ask.
The bottom line, though, is that a good marketing strategy overall in a firm is going to include a component where you're actively asking for referrals.
Correct.
Awesome. Okay, so let's go on to tip number 8 then.
All right. Yeah, video marketing. This has, you know, certainly become a popular tactic across many industries because video helps so much with engagement and personifying your business, because you're not just reading something, you're seeing someone's face, you're seeing their personality come through. So, you know, why is it so important for an advisor to consider is a couple stats here. Google reports that almost 50% of internet users look for videos related to a product or service before they buy, and 4 out of 5 consumers believe that demo videos are helpful in their purchasing decision. So this, you know, should certainly these days be part of your marketing mix. It's just to what degree it is, and that's what we're going to cover today, some tips on different ways to put together video, because if you want to make that part of your marketing mix, there's certainly the easy ones that you can do in your office right at your computer, and ones that you might want to hire a professional for. So for those quick informational videos, stuff that you might be posting on social media, things that you might just want to put on your site, especially in a blog area, something like that. It's okay that those are a little more informal these days. I think the feeling used to be that everything's got to be professionally done with the backdrop and things like that, but people kind of like those more informal videos these days, and you can shoot those honestly right from your phone or your laptop, as long as you got a good connection and I'd still have a nice professional background, whether it's at your desk or in a conference room or something like that. But there's nothing wrong with shooting those right from your own devices these days. And in fact, most social platforms like LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook, they have video platforms built into them these days to make it even easier for you to shoot and share those.
So, Matt, is there an optimal length for those kind of quick, informal videos?
Sorry, what was the question?
Is there an optimal length? Like, should they be under 2 minutes long? Will people lose interest if they're over 5 minutes?
Yeah. Generally, you do want to shoot for under 2 to 3 minutes. In fact, if they're just little quick snippets, even 30 seconds to a minute is ideal. I mean, if you're getting into more of the demo videos like I described later, it's okay for those to be a little longer. But even that, it's got to fit the content too. So again, if it's going to be longer, there's got to be value throughout the presentation. Like,
So
for example, if you're
really
still watching this presentation, you found enough value to watch all the way to tip number 8.
There you go. All right, that leads us into tip number 9 then, our final tip for the day.
All right, tip number 9. This one is, I'm particularly passionate about it, as a lot of my background here in content marketing, because it's so integral to the buying and the relationship development process. As we mentioned earlier, consumers want so much more information these days before they make their buying decision. And so the more thought leadership that you can put out there as an advisor or as an advisory firm, depending on how you're branding it, the more likely they're going to be considering you for their final purchase decision. In fact, according to HubSpot, 90% of purchasers haven't made up their mind about a brand before starting their search. So it's important to be the ones that are providing that thought leadership and answer, so that you are their go-to resource when they do get to that point. One point I like to stress is that, for a lot of advisors out there that don't have that strong marketing background, is they see content marketing, I think they naturally think blogs. I got to write more blogs. But really, content comes in a variety of forms, as you see here on the slide. It can be a blog, a webinar, a video, a white paper, a podcast, infographics. It's anything that is going type of thought leadership that you're going to share with a prospect or a client that's going to help educate and inform them, especially as it relates to a buying decision. But even beyond that, they're already a client. There's nothing wrong with keeping them in the loop of what's going on, and maybe it prompts them to ask questions to their advisor, which is, it's either going to help them and it may, result in more sales as well.
So why would somebody use content marketing?
The biggest thing is driving inbound leads for the purposes of here. If you're using content marketing, the more that you have on your site or your social channels, things like that, it is going to help drive more traffic to your site, and hopefully you either have forms on your site, or at the very least you have your phone number and email address on there, where the individuals are going to consume that content, and then they're going to reach out to you for more answers. They want that content's great, but maybe they have more specific questions of how that relates individually to them. So it's driving the inbound leads, and it's educating them so they see you as the advisor or the advisory firm as their go-to expert.
So if someone wants to really implement a content marketing strategy, how do they go about curating the actual content?
Yeah, and there's really 2 ways. It could be done themselves, or you could be using a third party like a Fiverr or a Writer's Access. And one point I'll make there is if they're doing it themselves, I think a lot of advisors, they're worried about how burdensome that's going to be. And that is the point we want to stress today, is make sure you're repurposing your content to get the most value out of it. If you're an advisor or working for an advisory firm and you're taking the time to start putting together content, find ways that you can repurpose that across multiple channels. If you're going to put together a white paper, are there ways that you can turn that into a video or a webinar? Can you break that down into a couple different blogs? Can you turn it into social posts? So you have one idea, one piece of thought leadership, but can you maximize it and try and get 15, 20 different pieces of content out of that same thought? For example, if you're consuming this webinar and you're very interested, hopefully you're also considering checking out our podcast or our white paper on related topics there.
There you go. Same idea, multiple ways. And I think that's particularly effective because people learn in different ways. Some people learn best by listening, some people by reading, some people visually by watching something, some people, they really just need to be in a live conversation to really absorb something. And because of those different learning styles, then having the content that you're putting out there in the world be in different formats really is going to hit the different things that resonate with the audience you're trying to connect to.
Exactly. You have to make it easy on them.
Well, Matt and Shannon, thank you so much for these amazing 9 tips. You have done such a fantastic job of walking us through great things to be aware of when it comes to multiplying our business by marketing. And for those of you listening, don't forget to check out our white paper about this. Again, it's the Marketing Planning 101, 9 steps to get you started. You can download that right off of our site. And we also have podcasts available on related topics. So if you're looking to continue to multiply your business, and if you're somebody who likes to learn by listening, the podcast is for you. So thanks for listening to our episode of the Rainmaker Multiplier On Demand. We'll look forward to seeing you in the next one.
The Rainmaker Multiplier On Demand series is brought to you by Clarity to Prosperity, a financial training, coaching, and IP development organization led by financial advisors, coaches, and business leaders committed to taking a holistic approach to advising. To learn more about our organization and upcoming training opportunities for financial professionals, visit claritytoprosperity.com.